Every year, the Nielsen Company does what they call a veracity study. They ask people, what are the professions you trust the most, and what are the professions you trust the least? The top of the list doesn't change much from year to year. It's usually doctor, nurse, pharmacist. The bottom of the list doesn't change much either. Down there, you'll find advertising practitioner, politician, and bringing up the rear, used car salesman. For the last 30 years, I've been an advertising practitioner. I've worked with a lot of politicians and a lot of car companies. I think that makes me the least trusted man in America. You should believe nothing I tell you. I'm in the persuasion business, but aren't we all? Maybe you're in sales and marketing. Maybe you're trying to get your boss to give you a raise. I'm up here trying to sell you an idea. We're all trying to convince somebody of something. And frankly, it's not going that well because we're doing it wrong. See, for generations, we have been trained to persuade people the same way an attorney might in a courtroom. I'd present you with a series of interconnected arguments that if you follow those arguments, you reach with me an unassailable conclusion. It just doesn't work. We're trying to make this complicated persuasion effort in an ADD world. The average human has an attention span of 8 seconds. Average goldfish, 9 seconds. Above average goldfish, 10 seconds. And look, let's be honest, the only reason it works in the courtroom is because the jurors will be arrested if they leave. They have to stay and listen to the whole thing. We have to find another way to do this. So what if we took what we knew about persuasion? We took all the books and the buzzwords and seminars, keynote speakers, stripped it all away and just got it down to the bare basics. Well, when you look at successful persuasive arguments from the beginning of time to now, you find two things in common. Two things that work with any product, any service. Two things that work in any country, in any language. Two things that work with any demographic group. Women, seniors, Latinos, even millennials. Corporate America is freaking out about how to talk to millennials. These two things work with millennials. The two things are hope and fear. Are there two more basic motivators than hope and fear? If it weren't for fear, none of us would even be here. Back in the prehistoric days, Ugg the caveman out hunting the woolly mammoth, right? If he heard the saber-toothed tiger growl, he felt fear. He ran away. Fear was a big part of his survival. And hope. We're the only animals on the planet that hope. We hope for nice weather. We hope for a better world for our children. We are built for hope. Hope and fear. Now, marketers are smart. They've been using hope and fear to sell us things for a long, long time. But now, who is using hope and who is using fear and how you can use them is what I want to talk about. I'm going to guess a lot of you came here tonight in a pickup. The makers of pickup trucks have been using fear to sell us trucks for 40 years. And maybe you've seen the commercials, right? They go something like this. They go, our truck has more torque. And we see a guy, and he's in the truck. He's got the trailer with a thing on it. We don't know what it is. He's hauling it up a mountain to go do important truck stuff, right? So here's what the psychological message they're trying to deliver to us. Finally honed over 40 years of advertising. They're saying if you don't have enough torque, you can't do your job. If you can't do your job, you can't take care of your family. If you can't take care of your family, you're not much of a man. If you don't have enough torque, you're going to be living in a box under an overpass. That's ridiculous. Or is it? The number one best-selling vehicle in America last year was a pickup. Also the number 2 best-selling vehicle and the number 3 best-selling vehicle. You have to get to number 4 before you get your first car. Ford sold 800,000 pickup trucks last year. Best-selling car, less than half that. That's a lot of torque. And a lot of fear. Now, when it comes to hope, nobody sells hope better than the healthcare folks, especially the pharmaceutical people. And I'm really fascinated by this because the pharmaceutical people made a conscious decision along the way to sell hope instead of fear. They could have sold fear. They could have said, hey, look, you take this pill or you're going to get sick and die. Right? Very powerful message and perfectly legitimate. But instead, they decided to sell hope. So what they say now is, take this pill and you'll have a better life. A better life in a pill. I will ask my doctor about that. And I'm so excited about that. I'm so interested in that, I will ignore the second half of the commercial with all the side effects. Anal leakage. I may be having some right now. And a fatal event, my favorite side effect, death. I'm still interested in your product even though you just told me it might kill me. That's the power of hope. This really came home to me working on a weight loss surgery client. We talked to people who were interested in weight loss surgery, and it was fascinating what they didn't say. They didn't say how many pounds they wanted to lose. They talked about the things in their life they wanted to do. They wanted to be able to fly on an airplane without a seatbelt extender, wanted to ride on a roller coaster with their kids, wanted to be able to cross their legs. So we changed how we talked about it. We stopped talking about the number of pounds and we started to talk about these small, specific things that would make their life better, because that's what hope is all about. Now, what happens if you put hope and fear together? Well, let's ask the ASPCA. Maybe you've seen these commercials with the sad Sarah McLachlan song. Right, you got the dogs and the cats and they're in the cages and it's sad. And you feel fear for the animals. But then they do something really, really interesting. They make a change. They say, only you can bring hope to these animals. So now it's gone from, I want to help these animals to, hey, maybe I'm going to do a little something for myself too. So for $20 a month, I can help these animals and I can be the hero of the story. Who doesn't want to be a hero? They might as well be selling capes with big red S's on the back. Now, hope and fear don't work by themselves. Hope and fear require input from you. They require action. Hope without action is just a wish, and fear without action is just me curled up in the fetal position under my coffee table. But the action can't be, buy my product. I mean, that's selfish to expect that. The action has to be something that makes someone's life better. Apple doesn't want you to buy a new phone. They want you to take better pictures. Match.com doesn't want you to download their dating app. They want you to go on more second dates. The product is just a conduit to getting you to something that makes your life better. My favorite in this category is Prevention Magazine. You know Prevention Magazine? You see it at the grocery store. It's at the checkout. It's a little magazine right next to the cash register. It's filled with stories about cancer, death, heart attack, disease. Real story from Prevention Magazine. You open the magazine, there's a picture of a couple, and they're in bed. It's late at night. The wife is wide awake and very, very stressed. The headline says, "My husband wants to have sex all the time, but he has a heart condition that makes doing it deadly." Who reads this magazine? Well, a lot of people do. They're selling fear, but more than that, when you buy that magazine, they're validating your fear. It's like they're saying it's okay. It's okay to be afraid. We're afraid too. But in the magazine, maybe there's a recipe that talks about if you eat this kale, you won't get this terrible disease. So buying the magazine is not the action, but helping me take this action that helps me assuage that fear and lead a better life is what it's all about. Now, hope and fear ought to be simple, right? We've all heard all the phrases, hope springs eternal. We have nothing to fear but fear itself. Hope should be good, fear is bad, right? Doesn't work that way. A little bit of fear is a good thing. Too much hope is a bad thing. Maybe you've gotten an email from a friend of mine, he's a Nigerian prince. Needs just a little bit of help getting $20 million out of the First National Bank of Nigeria. If you just send him your Social Security number, the little numbers off the bottom of your check, everything will be fine. He's selling hope. That scam's been around for decades because it trades on hope. We all hope our ship has come in. It's pennies from heaven. And let's talk evil dictators for a minute. We all know one. Idi Amin, Hugo Chavez. These are people who dealt in fear. But they rose to power on the wings of hope. 1930s Germany, they were crushed by the Depression. And in Germany, it was probably even worse because they were in a bad economic situation after World War I. Hitler comes along and says, hey, vote for me, and I'll find a way to get you out of this economic crisis. He had no business acumen. He had no record. There was no reason to believe him. He was a failed art student who had been in jail. But he was selling hope to the hopeless. And that's a very powerful thing, but can also be a very dangerous thing. I've worked in politics for a long time at every level, from city council to 4 presidential races. Hope and fear are the only things we sell. And a lot of people think, well, hope should belong to this party and fear should belong to that party. I'm here to tell you both parties sell hope and fear equally. Let's just say, for example, we were going to do an ad for a very conservative candidate. Might go something like this. The world is a dangerous place filled with evil terrorists who want to destroy your life. Vote for me and I'll protect you. Right? Fear-based message, probably not unlike something you've heard. Let's go to the other side of the aisle. Maybe it sounds like this. The world is a dangerous place filled with greedy corporations that want to destroy your life. Vote for me and I'll protect you. I changed 2 words. We moved from one end of the political spectrum to the other end of the political spectrum, talked to 2 completely different groups with equal effectiveness. That's the flexibility of fear. Now, we all know how to use hope and fear. We all know how to use it instinctively. We've done it our whole lives. Growing up, my mother dealt a lot of fear. Don't run with those scissors, you'll put your eye out. And if you eat a tuna fish sandwich and get in the pool, you're on your own. And when we were potty training our daughter, we sold a lot of hope every day. If you'll use the potty, we can get the My Little Pony underwear. She's still wearing it. She's 29. But there are times in life when we really should be using hope and fear, and it leaves us. Some of the most important times, like in a job interview. How many times have you seen people in a job interview read their resumes back? I'm a self-starter, and I'm really good at Excel. It's like, who cares? So is everybody else. You've got to understand the person on the other side of that desk. You've got to understand their hopes and fears. Will this person fit in on my team? Will they help me meet my goals? Will they be a good hire? So instead of talking about your awesome Excel skills, maybe you should be talking about how much you enjoy working on a team, how much you like the corporate culture, how glad you are when somebody reaches their goals. Make that person understand that by hiring you, it'll make their life better. That's how you use hope and fear. Now, if I haven't done a good enough job explaining how you can use hope and fear in any persuasive situation, that means it's time to talk about small kitchen appliances. Let's say you need a new blender. $35, you can get a blender, perfectly nice blender that will meet all your blending needs. Or you could spend $500 and buy a Vitamix. People are lining up to buy $500 Vitamixes. Why? Because they don't think of them as blenders. They think of them as a piece of exercise equipment. You put the food in the Vitamix and you mix it up and you drink it and you're healthier, right? And if it's something that makes you healthier, it gives us permission to spend more money on it, a lot more money. So if they can take a small kitchen appliance and they can wrap it in hope and fear and sell it for $500, what can you do? Thank you.